Hey, mama. So you decided to have your child evaluated for learning and attention issues. And then the question becomes how? So you can request that the school conduct a evaluation, or you can hire a private evaluator. And each option has its benefits and its drawbacks. And which one is best depends on your child's needs and your personal preferences. So I'm here to talk a little bit about some of the pros and cons of each. So let's first talk about the evaluator. For a private evaluator, some of the pros are you get to choose the evaluator. One person does all the testing, so your child doesn't have to adjust to different people. The evaluator isn't with the school, so they may be more impartial, and they can make recommendations without any school concerns. Some of the cons or drawbacks of that is that the evaluator may not be able to observe your child in the school setting or review records. And so if you decide to go the private evaluator route, it's really important that you keep track of records or pull or gather from the schools the records that you need to support your request for an evaluation. The evaluator with the school, some of the pros are at least two professionals work together to look at your child from different angles, and they can easily observe your child and review their records. The cons or some of the drawbacks are that evaluators are part of the school's team, and so you don't get to choose them. The recommendations could be shaped by school concerns, such as the resources that are available. And so if you are in a school that is underfunded and doesn't have all of the resources it needs, they may attempt to pigeonhole your child into a diagnosis or no diagnosis at all. That would be their approach to addressing your concerns. And so some of the pros and cons about the evaluator aspect of private and school evaluations. Next is the process. So some of the pros of the private evaluation route are that you don't need the school to agree to testing. You also don't need to share the results if you choose not to. Cons are there is no set time frame. Your child can wait months to be tested and get results back, and you need to coordinate any additional testing by other specialists. And so if you go to this one person, they say, oh, well, you might need to have your child tested by this type of specialist because what I'm seeing isn't something that I diagnose. Then there's a chance that you might be seeing more than one evaluator. Within the school setting, there are time frames as set by law that they must stick to so that testing and results can be quicker. And the school coordinates the testing and the communication with the parents. And so once you set that evaluation request in motion, the responsibility should be on them to get the process rolling on that. Even though, like I said in my previous video, there might be instances where you need to follow up to make sure the requests are being received and that everybody is diligently working towards securing you the services that you need. Some of the cons are that the school has to agree to the evaluation, but you might have to wait to get the approval, okay? And that might happen because they're trying to see if other intervention steps work, or there's an alternative to testing, okay? The testing itself. So some of the pros going the private route are the testing can be focused only on the area of concern, and this can make the process more swift. Cons are that the testing can be expensive and it may not be covered by insurance, and your school is not required to follow the recommendations set forth by that private evaluator. Some of the pros regarding the testing process with schools is that the testing is free. And it looks at all the areas of development, and this can reveal weaknesses that maybe weren't obvious to you. Some of the cons are that the results will be part of your child's confidential school records and can be seen by anyone who has the right to look at those records. So lastly is the experience. So with the private evaluator, a pro about that is that your child has the opportunity to get the undivided attention in a setting that is both private and confidential. A con might be that your child is in an unfamiliar environment. A pro for schools is that your child will be in a familiar setting, but on the contrary, there might be some feelings of embarrassment or other emotions that rise when your child is being tested in the school setting. All right. And so some overviews of pros and cons between private and school evaluations. If you want clarity on any of that or you have additional questions, feel free to hit me up. All right.